What if the life you're living right now wasn't random? What if the people you've met, the challenges you've faced, and even the pain you've carried were all chosen by you? Before you were ever born? It sounds impossible, but deep in your chest, there's a flicker that knows it's true. You've felt it, in the places that feel like memories, in the faces of strangers you can't look away from, in the moments of déjà vu so strong, it feels like you've stepped into a scene you've already lived. Most people move through life believing it's all chance, that we're just reacting to whatever comes. But the soul knows better. It knows there was a plan, a blueprint, a quiet agreement made long before your first breath. And even though you can't remember it, it's still shaping everything you experience. In this video, we're going to uncover that plan, the hidden design behind your relationships, your struggles, and your deepest callings. Because once you see it, you'll never look at your life or your soul the same way again. Long before you opened your eyes in this world, you were somewhere else. Not a place you could point to on a map, but a space beyond time. A silence so complete, it felt like home. There, you weren't a name, a face, or a body. You were only awareness, pure, unshaped, but full of knowing. And in that stillness, a choice appeared. It wasn't made in words. It wasn't forced. It was an agreement, a quiet nod between your soul and something far greater. You saw the life ahead of you, not in every detail, but in its essence. The lessons, the people, the moments that would break you open, and the ones that would hold you together. And you said, yes. Not because it would be easy, not because it would be safe, but because somewhere deep in your eternal self, you knew this was the path that would shape you into what you were meant to become. And then, just as quickly as the choice was made, the memory of it began to fade. You crossed a threshold, into time, into flesh, into the forgetfulness that comes with being human. But even if you can't recall that moment, your soul hasn't forgotten. Every step you take in this life is still unfolding from that silent agreement you made before you were ever born. The moment you took your first breath, you crossed through a veil. It's invisible, but absolute. 1 second, you were infinite. The next, you were someone, a name, a body, a history you hadn't lived yet. And with that shift, the memory of who you truly are slipped quietly out of reach. This wasn't a mistake. It was part of the plan. Because if you carried the full weight of your soul's knowing into this fragile human form, you'd never experience life as it was meant to be lived. Every joy would be predictable. Every loss would be softened by the knowledge that it's temporary. Every lesson would lose its depth because you'd already know the ending. So you forgot. You forgot the choice you made. You forgot the reasons behind the hardest roads. You forgot the faces you promised to meet. The forgetting isn't cruelty. It's the soil in which the journey can grow. And yet, the soul leaves traces, little flashes of recognition, a dream that feels like a memory, a stranger's eyes that make you stop breathing for a moment. These are cracks in the veil, moments when the eternal leaks through the human, reminding you that even in forgetting, you are never truly lost. Because the plan you made before you were born is still unfolding, whether you remember it or not. From the human perspective, a challenge feels like an obstacle, something in the way, something to push through, fix, or escape. But from the soul's perspective, a challenge is a classroom. Before you were born, you didn't choose an easy path. You chose the one that would carve you open, in the exact places you needed to grow. Some lessons arrive as heartbreak, some as failure, some as loss so deep, you wonder if you'll ever return from it. And yet, none of these moments are random. They're coded into your life, like markers on a map, placed there long before your first breath. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended abruptly, the illness that slowed you down. To the mind, they look like detours, but to the soul, they're essential turns in the road. Because the truth is, your greatest growth rarely comes when life is smooth. It comes when something forces you to become more than you thought you could be. That's why the soul designs challenges, not to punish you, but to reveal you. And when you start to see them this way, everything shifts. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this here to teach me?" The pain doesn't vanish overnight, but it gains meaning. And meaning is the light that carries you through the darkest chapters. Some encounters feel ordinary, a brief conversation, a passing face in the crowd. But others stop you. It might be someone you meet once and never see again. Yet they leave a mark you can't explain, or someone who enters your life and changes its direction entirely. Before you were born, your soul knew them. Not their names, not their human stories, but their energy, their role in your unfolding. These are soul contracts, agreements made in that silent place, before the veil of forgetting. Some are here to love you, to stand beside you when the path feels impossible. Others are here to challenge you, to trigger the parts of you that need to be seen. And some are here only briefly, but their impact ripples through years. We often mistake these connections for coincidence, a lucky meeting, a random twist of fate. But the soul doesn't believe in accidents. It believes in timing, in placing you exactly where you need to be, to cross paths with the one person who will ignite the next step of your journey. When you start to notice this, you see relationships differently. You stop clinging to those meant to leave. You stop resisting those meant to teach. And you start honoring the truth that every soul you meet is part of the map you drew before you ever arrived. Sometimes you feel it, a familiarity you can't explain, a place you've never been, but somehow recognize, a skill you've never studied, but pick up as if you've done it for lifetimes. A fear that makes no sense in this life, but feels ancient. These are echoes, fragments of stories your soul has lived before. Before you were born, you didn't arrive as a blank page. You carried patterns, gifts, and wounds from other chapters, written in other bodies, other worlds, other times. Some of these echoes feel like blessings, the talent that comes effortlessly, the instant connection with a stranger, the wisdom you can't trace back to learning. Others feel heavier, recurring struggles you can't seem to break, emotional reactions that arrive too fast to understand. Dreams that feel more like memories than imagination. These aren't here by accident. The soul carries them forward, not to trap you, but to give you the chance to finish what was left incomplete. Sometimes the very thing you're running from in this life is the same lesson you avoided before, and the love you're searching for is the same one you promised to find again. When you start to notice these echoes, life takes on a new dimension. You see that you're not just living this moment, you're living the continuation of a much older story. And every choice you make now isn't just shaping this lifetime, it's rewriting the ones that came before. It starts small. A dream that feels more real than the day you wake into. A sudden déjà vu in the middle of an ordinary moment. A thought that feels older than you are. These are not random, they are signals. Your soul whispering through the cracks in the veil. You might feel a pull toward places you've never been, an unexplainable connection with someone you've just met, a sense of knowing something before it happens. At first you dismiss them as coincidence, but over time, they multiply. The same numbers keep appearing. The same symbols show up in your dreams and in your waking life. Your intuition sharpens. The inner voice you once ignored becomes harder to deny. These are the signs that you're remembering, that the blueprint you designed before birth is beginning to rise from beneath the surface of your life. And if you've been feeling this, if something in you is stirring as you hear these words, you may be ready to go deeper. I've created a 19-day journal called The 19-Day Awakening. It's not just pages. It's a sacred space for reflection, healing, and inner transformation. You'll find it in the first pinned comment below when the time is right. Because once you start to remember, there is no going back to sleep. The plan you made before you were born is still alive inside you, waiting for the moment you choose to walk it fully awake. Before you were born, the plan was clear, but clarity doesn't mean rigidity. The soul knows. Life is a dance between destiny and free will. Some things are fixed. The lessons you came to learn, the people you promised to meet, the turning points that shape your path. But how you arrive at those moments, that's where choice lives. You can take the long way, the scenic route, the detour through shadows, or the direct road that feels like a leap into the unknown. Every decision bends the path slightly. Every act of courage or avoidance creates a ripple, and sometimes the plan adapts. A challenge arrives sooner than expected. An opportunity disappears because you're not ready to step into it yet. A new door opens that wasn't in the original blueprint, but now fits perfectly. This isn't failure, it's co-creation. The soul doesn't punish you for changing course. It simply rearranges the path, so you can still arrive at the essence of what you chose. Think of it like a river. You can drift with the current, or paddle against it, or explore the side streams. But no matter what, the water is always moving toward the same ocean. When you understand this, you stop fearing wrong turns. Because even when the plan changes, its purpose remains the same: to bring you back to the truth you chose before you were born. Pain has a way of stopping you. It interrupts the momentum. It forces you to notice what you've been avoiding. From the human view, Pain feels like punishment. From the soul's view, it's a signal. Before you were born, you didn't just choose joy. You chose moments that would break you open, because you knew some truths can only be found when everything else falls apart. Loss, heartbreak, disappointment so deep it shakes your faith in life. These aren't detours, they're doorways. In comfort, we rarely change, but in pain, we start asking questions we've never dared to ask. We look at the patterns we've been repeating for years. We strip away identities we thought we couldn't live without. It's not that the soul wants you to suffer. It's that pain has a way of cutting through the noise faster than anything else. You can ignore the gentle whispers. You can walk past the subtle signs. But when pain arrives, you stop. You listen. You're forced into the present moment, whether you want it or not. And that's where the turning point lives. In the moment you realize the pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to redirect you. When you look back years later, you'll see that the moments you thought would break you were the same moments that set you free. At first it's faint, a feeling more than a sound, a quiet pull toward one choice and away from another. You second guess it. You ask for signs. You poll your friends. But the voice doesn't argue. It waits. This is the same voice you had as a child, before the world taught you to doubt it, before you learned to trade instinct for approval. And now, after all the detours, after all the noise, after the pain that stripped away what you thought you needed, it begins to return. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply offers direction that feels steady in your chest, even if it makes no sense in your mind. Sometimes it tells you to stay when everything in you wants to run. Sometimes it tells you to leap when logic says it's impossible. This voice is the thread between your human self and the soul that chose this life. The more you trust it, the louder it becomes. Not in volume dash, but in clarity. You stop needing constant confirmation from the outside. You stop chasing signs like breadcrumbs, because you realize the clearest guidance has always been inside you. And when you live from that place, the path you walk begins to feel less like searching and more like remembering. At some point, you stop asking if you're on the right path, not because you figured everything out, but because you've learned to trust where your feet are. The choice you made before you were born wasn't about a single destination. It was about the way you would walk, the way you would meet each moment, the way you would carry your soul through the seasons of being human. Living in alignment isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's knowing that even when the plan shifts, even when pain comes, even when the way forward isn't clear, you're still moving with the current your soul chose long ago. You begin to see challenges as teachers, relationships as mirrors, coincidences as conversations with something greater. You let go of the need to rush. You stop forcing doors open. You stop bargaining with life. Instead, you listen. You follow the quiet threads of intuition. You honor the signs, the pauses, the moments that feel like they were written for you. And slowly, life stops feeling like a series of random events and starts feeling like a living dialogue between you and the universe. This is alignment, not the absence of struggle, but the deep knowing that even in the struggle, you are exactly where your soul intended you to be. And from this place, you don't just live the life you were given. You live the life you chose. Now you know, your life didn't just happen to you. You chose it. Every joy, every heartbreak, every lesson wrapped in pain. The blueprint was written before your first breath, not as a prison, but as a path to remember who you truly are. The forgetting was part of the plan, so was the remembering. And every sign, every nudge from your inner voice has been guiding you back to the choice you made long ago. The question now is, will you live like it's true? Will you trust the challenges instead of fearing them? Will you honor the people who arrive in your path, even the ones who break you open? Will you listen when your soul whispers, instead of waiting for life to shout? Because once you see the plan, you can't unsee it, and life stops feeling like something to survive and starts feeling like something you came here to live. If these words stirred something inside you, leave your truth in the comments. Tell me what you've remembered. Tell me where you felt the blueprint in your own story. And if you're ready to keep walking this path together, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay close. Because the journey doesn't end here. It deepens, and the next chapter is waiting for you.